So thank you all for joining the Sig Docs meeting on November 20th, 2018. So welcome to Sig Docs. And first off, I know we had a few people join. So do we have any new contributors?
Hi.
Hello.
I haven't contributed much, just a couple of changes, but that's it. This is my first meeting, and they were like, I think a couple months ago, and I didn't know that you guys had meetings. So.
And what's your name? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Dennis. I work for Microsoft. I'm part of the Azure Kubernetes services support team. So have a little bit of knowledge there. Glad to join you guys, and I hope I can contribute more than I have so far.
Well, great. Thank you very much. And as we get into the rest of the meeting, I'm going to hand this off to Jennifer Rondeau, who's our Elite Sig Docs chair. So Jennifer, take it away.
Elite, huh? Is that a new title? Is that, do
Elite,
we have new levels of ranking?
Superb.
So I see that Tim has given us some more information about the 113 release updates in the agenda and minutes. Tim, do you want to give us a brief oral report?
Yeah, sure. Hey folks, just as a reminder, I'm the docs lead for the 113 release. Apologies for not making it to the last few meetings. I've been traveling. So general updates is, so yesterday we had deadline for PRs to be ready for review. And we had a bit of a crunch yesterday to try and get everything ready for review. And now we have all of them already apart from 3. But we've got a pretty tight timeline. So we need everything to be ready by November 27th is the target. And the release is going to be on December 3rd. So with the holidays and everything, I think the review timeline is pretty tight. So I've got a spreadsheet where I'm tracking all of the issues. There's a link in the minutes there. What would be really, really helpful is if anybody is able to take a look at issues that they would like to be approvers on, or would be keen to take a look at, and kind of add themselves if possible. That would be helpful to make sure that we get everything reviewed as quickly as possible over the next 7 days. Yeah, are there any questions around any of that?
Yeah, I see 2 PRs that don't have reviewers. Is there 3 additional PRs that we're waiting on to come in, and then 2 that need review, or does one of them get reviewers?
So those 2 are currently, they're empty commits because they're just placeholders. So these are 2 of the PRs which there hasn't been any work on yet, unfortunately. So we're reaching out to the PR owner to get that done, and then hopefully, I think once a commit comes in, the reviewers should be assigned automatically.
Got it. And then the 3rd one is one that we're waiting on, or is that?
Third one is the kubeadmin PR. So kubeadmin is going GA in this release. So there's a lot of documentation work that's happening there, and there's a lot of things in progress with that PR. Jennifer, I think you were talking to some of the kubeadmin people about that PR specifically.
Yep. So we had a bit of a situation with the kubeadm docs because we didn't get, well, for a variety of reasons, they were having difficulty reviewing, especially the one complicated PR that includes for generated files. That's one that we have a process solution to, but we've come up with it only in the last release or so. So it's still a bit of a hiccup. That one, I think, should be back on track. I haven't looked at it today. I was wrangling it yesterday. I think we may have one or two more coming in for Kuberium, Tim. But I talked to the folks yesterday. They promised me by end of day tomorrow, I will review them over the Thanksgiving holiday. We've got a good working relationship in there from the last several releases. So I realize this is out of band, but I kind of feel like I dropped the ball coaching them as well as them not understanding the dates. So I think we're going to be in okay shape there. There's a little bit of confusion about the work because, in fact, I think that big blanket PR is, in fact, kind of a reminder to them that they need to go in and revise some of the existing docs. But we'll sort that out as the PRs come in. I will take a look at the lists sometime before next Monday and start wrangling seriously.
Okay, yeah, I think we've got lots of awesome people working on that, so I'm sure it's gonna be fine. And thank you very much for kind of offering to work over the holidays to get that done. I know it's awkward timing for sure.
Well, I'm taking today and tomorrow off. That's partly why. It's like I'm doing better. I'm better off front loading my not working time and then taking, working over the weekend. So no sacrifice here.
So just general kind of summary then is, we're looking okay, but it's going to be maybe tough for reviews over the next 7 days to try and get everything sorted. So there might be some crunch time close to the 27th.
Thanks.
Okay, and that's it for me, Jennifer, unless there are any other questions.
All right, I'm running the meeting. I saw I saw Jared pop up and I thought, okay, Jared, what's next? And then I realized, oh, that's me.
It's all you. This is your rodeo.
So I wanted to call out, I wanted to thank Chiming for taking on PR wrangling this week because he switched because of Thanksgiving. So since I was the one originally assigned to this week, I'm extra appreciative. And then I think that the rest of the agenda items that are currently in the doc are mine, except for the one against Andrew, who doesn't seem to be here. So without further ado, I wanted to bring the issue of the kubectl docs to the attention of this whole group, because the pull requests seem to have reached as, sort of gone as far as it could in terms of figuring out a solution to the problem. I guess maybe if I share, it will help for folks to understand what's going on here. Yeah, so many tabs, I believe. Let's see. Okay, so let's go take a look at the pull request in question. Things are breaking links in the kubectl docs, but the problem is these are generated. And this particular pull request does what we keep telling people not to do, which is manually fix generated docs. And Chiming did a nice job of digging in and offering several different options. So we can fix the upstream code base, we can fix the code generator, or we can, because the kubectl docs are generated with a different script, kind of like the one that generates the API ref docs, and that's why we get these docs nobody loves. Or he also suggests that we use the other docs generator that we use for the other kube components. Differences, or are you familiar with the differences in the UI for those two different docs generation options?
I wouldn't mind seeing the differences. I know I played with a few of the different components and tools there. And as I'm taking over lead for the next release cycle, I want to definitely focus on the generated docs.
Okay. Let's take a look. The only thing I want to do is go back. I raised a couple of other issues just in case we get into the weeds with this one, which I'll try not to. But I think this one probably trumps the other two in terms of being worth spending some time on. Since I put them in the agenda, I will make that judgment call. And we can defer the other two if we need to. So I'm just going to have to navigate. I don't have this stuff. So also not actually, oh, here we go. Not the world's loveliest navigation, but this is what the current generated docs for kubectl look like. And just so you have, for comparison, oh, no, kubeadm is not a good option. Let's just take a look at the API server. So this is what the API server ref docs look like. I've got this right.
Yeah,
Yes.
but hang on a second, Jennifer. This is for launching the binary, and so we should compare that to the ref page for kubectl for launching the kubectl binary. But that's a different thing from the ref docs for the kubectl commands. I'm trying to think of what might be a comparison. I mean, we might look at the Federation API. They use a standard generator for an API that's more like what we do. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
do you have a sense of what Chuming was suggesting when he said we could use the same generator that we use for the others?
Let's see here. We might need to defer this one too. I'm feeling like I needed to have done more homework before I present a really good set of options, unless somebody else has got, some more information here that's worth.
So it looked like he is suggesting we use the same generator that we use for something like Kube API server. So maybe we should go back to what you were first showing us and see if that even makes sense for kubectl commands.
This one?
Yeah.
I looked into this a little bit previously, and I think with the other generator, if you go to the kubectl, the one above it, kubectl, yeah. And so if you scroll down, then you'll have like a list of commands there. And currently, these have been linked over to the other documentation, but the other script will actually generate markdown files for each one of those commands, which will look the same as this page here. And then the idea would be that they should be, I guess, linkable from this place. So it'll create a page for each subcommand.
I remember that now. I had forgotten about that. But yeah, we can get just a set of markdown files for all those commands.
Right. And then we'd need to... Right. But then we would still need to figure out how to aggregate those, right?
I wouldn't think so. I think we would publish them as separate pages.
Okay.
And that would mean we would add a whole bunch of URLs to our doc set. So we want to be sure. Yep. Because if we go there and then decide to go back, we'll have to redirect, 100 new URLs that we've created.
Yeah. But just to be sure, okay, so these are all the commands. We're not talking about getting rid of this page then?
Yeah, we would get rid of that and instead have a set of markdown files, one for each command.
Yeah, I thought this was the broken stuff here.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, we are all on the same page then.
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry, what do you mean broken? Like how is this part broken?
This is those are the pages, or that is the file that this PR is against. Oh, right. That's why we can't look at it. We could, but let's not. Any other thoughts? I mean,
So what I don't understand is the difference between fixing this in the upstream source and fixing it in the generator. Is the upstream source incorrect in some way?
let's take a look. Okay, so it looks like not. Yes, it looks like the markup in the upstream source is incorrect. Well, it's the easiest fix, so let's see what we can do to get that done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't looked at the details, but I don't understand why, if the upstream source is incorrect, I don't understand why choosing one generator over the other would make a difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, I think it's because the code generator that's used for the kubectl docs, you know, has all of this complicated stuff in it that quite possibly is more strict about Markdown. But again, I have not done all of my homework here.
Yeah.
I looked far enough to think, okay, let's take it to the larger group. That's all the homework I did. But okay, I will, unless somebody else wants to take it on, I will dig around and see what we can do about getting that upstream string fixed. Yeah, the only thing I called out was that historically we've had difficulty getting changes from DocsFolk approved and merged in the upstream code base. But I think there, I'm willing to take on the task of finding a person, the right person to bug in person. Oh. Quite possibly not until after the release, however. Right now doesn't seem like the right time to go pestering people still worrying about getting code and features in. But I'll put it on my calendar as a to-do item for a fast follow post-release. And put a hold on, I don't know if PR has got a hold on it. It does not. But I will mark it up so that we can appropriately exclude it from PR searches while we're trying to get things closed. Does that seem acceptable? Okay, cool. I will stop sharing, or actually I can go back and share. Jared, did you have a?
Nope, I just said sounds good to me.
Okay. In that case, it looks as though we have time for a couple more items and still get done early. So we keep getting pull requests against old blog posts. And most of the time, I don't know what the rest of you do. I merge them. They look harmless. They don't seem like the greatest use of anybody's time, but it's much faster just to merge them than send them back saying, please don't do this anymore. Also not very friendly to do that. But last week when I was wrangling, I came across this pull request that didn't have, there wasn't a good solution, right? The link is now broken because some interface no longer exists. Basically, the whole, sort of the architecture has changed. We can go take a look at it if you're curious. Somebody merged it. I was concerned because it didn't in fact point to anything useful, because there wasn't anything useful. Oh, nope, I merged it. Oh, this is it. Sorry, I was confusing it with another one, and that's what I get for using memory. But do we want to try to put guidelines, maybe do something like put guidelines for contributors that suggest that you're not worry about fixing typos or broken links in blog posts from 2015? Do we want to say something about that? you know, I mean, broken, I mean, you can tell what's going on, right? Somebody's decided to run a link checker, and the link, you know, in this case anyway, the link checker catches a broken link from ancient ago. And so somebody says, okay, here's a broken link, I'll fix the broken link, and not really paying attention to the fact that it's not a useful link anymore. Ditto with spell checkers. What do y'all think about providing guide? I don't, or do you have any other ideas about how to deal with this situation? Because it seems as though they come in small waves, especially the fixed typo ones. If we don't have anything in the contributor guide, that's probably the place to start. And I don't know where else we would go or what else we might do to try to direct contributor energy a bit more productively, shall we say.
I'm pulling up the PR. How old is the blog post? Like, at a certain point, do we just want to say like a blog post over a year old we don't work on, or some arbitrary time that we no longer support it? Because we're also not writing blog posts either, so it seems weird that we're maintaining and improving the PRs that fix them.
That particular one dates to 2016.
Yeah, so it's like 2 years old at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems, I think, I mean, it'd be nice to, I don't know, take some of those. Like, I think there's a couple like points that we should take a look at. One is, at what point do we stop maintaining it? And then there's another point where we might want to consider dropping it from search results. That one's a bit more dramatic and probably going to raise a few more eyebrows. But I think after after a year, we shouldn't be reviewing any of these PRs. That's my thought on this. I guess I leave it up to group consensus, but I think
I agree with your conclusion. Yeah, I agree with your conclusion, but the question is then, how do we enforce that? Do we do it passively by putting specific content in the contributor guidelines? Do we do it more actively by refusing to, you know, by closing unmerged pull requests that come in like this? You know, do we kind of waffle on it? Depending, you know, like I kind of hate if somebody actually fixed a broken thing, even if it's not a useful broken thing and they're a first-time contributor. I kind of hate to close unmerged, but maybe we should. I feel like there's a community leadership issue here, and I'm not quite sure how to proceed with it.
Well, I think you raise a good point. There's a compassionate way to do this, where we definitely should document whatever we decide in the contribution guidelines, for sure. I also think that we should. I think if somebody submits a fix on their own that's outside this group, I think it's totally fine to accept it. But I think within this group, you know, we definitely have way bigger priorities to be working on. So none of us should be working on it. So I think that might be the way to do it, is so we document it in the contributor guidelines. We tell folks here in this meeting, you know, please don't work on any of this. And I don't think anybody's working on it now, because I think we have a pretty good idea of our priorities. And then outside of this group, if people submit it, we could just say like, hey, thanks for submitting this. We normally don't update these. You know, if you see other things to fix, please focus your energy on the issues listed here. So I think that might be the way to do it.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Don't be jerks.
But you could go look at the broken links that are in the core docs instead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the blog goes back to Kubernetes inception. So I mean, like, there's so much crap in there that's just wrong at this point. We're never going to fix it. So.
Oh, I know, and I don't.
Just making sure people are focused their energies on the right things.
Yeah, I don't think folks on this call tend to. I mean, I tend to see these. I at least tend to see these PRs come in from first-time contributors. You know, we had a rash of typo fixes last fall. I think it was probably a year ago now. from some fairly new contributors in Asia. That all seems to have settled down. It's not happening anymore. So, you know, word is getting out some places, but, you know, we can't get the word out to everybody. So I like.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just like onboarding a ton of new contributors. So they're all just like trying to be really helpful. So I think directing people to the place where they can be the most helpful is really important.
Yeah. Past 1 year, that's good. Okay, awesome. Does anybody else want to volunteer to submit a PR against the contributor guide?
I'll submit that PR. It's not big.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you. Good item, Jared. I saw yours. Let's take that one up first then, because I'm tired of running items on the agenda.
No, actually, we didn't get to Andrew Chen's item with setup landing pages.
Right, but Andrew's not on the call. That's the only reason I skipped over it.
Yeah, Cody, did you have a thought on this? I know that you're working closely with Andrew on things.
Yeah, it was just a thought to kind of simplify the picking the right solutions page and give people kind of buckets that were actually descriptive of the items underneath.
Yeah, I think the setup landing page has a lot of, like, it has a lot of confusion. So I guess like managed solutions would be, yeah, because like we have local machine solutions, hosted solutions. Like turnkey doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then custom solutions. Yeah, these are all very confusing. So you have managed, hosting, custom, and then local machine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they sound simple to me. Do they sound? And I guess turnkey gets folded into both of these, and like, and how did you decide on this organization scheme?
Basically, it goes from easy to hard configuration there. The only thing was that there were some people who were pretty passionate about keeping turnkey as it was important for their marketing. And I don't know whether or not like our organization should be affected by external marketing practices.
Yeah, I don't think so, but can anybody here comment on turnkey? Like turnkey doesn't make any sense to me when we have like hosting instead. And turnkey doesn't seem like a technical, it seems neither technical nor accurate. So and my tendency is to not be influenced by outside organizations who want us to word things in specific ways to make their search results appear better. So I hope I'm not stepping on folks' toes by saying that, but that's my concern.
Representative, speaking as someone who contributes from a company that cares very much about the marketing impact of its upstream work, I couldn't agree with you more, Jared. I think that this is like straining at usability. We as a group, Sig Docs, are about making the documentation useful for folks who want to learn or manage with Kubernetes. We're not about helping third-party marketing solutions. So.
Yeah, I think we should strive for the most useful content for users and the most accurate and honest content. So I don't. Yeah, I think this. I like that you dropped turnkey, and I like that this makes sense because I think people want the easiest solution first, with more customizable solutions at the bottom.
And I think the distinction between managed and hosted is, I mean, it's super clear, right?
Yeah, that's really well done.
That's a mental model that customers of whatever are already working with.
Yeah. So Cody, are you working on this, or is Andrew driving this and you're working on it, or is Andrew just doing this entirely and you have context, or?
This was something that like had come up when I was first touching the page, but I've been moving to more writing projects, but I'm sure I could jump back into this too.
Yeah, I'll let Andrew make the call on that, but I think I think this looks good to me. So maybe I'll just should I just send I think we just list here that is this good with everybody here? It seems like it is.
I like it. I think we might stumble a bit with the word hosted because I know GKE refers to itself as a hosted. You know, we have a hosted master. But we can pound out the details as we go.
I think this work also has some relevance to the cloud providers effort that's happening as part of the other SIG. And Andrew has been working with some internal folks here at Google to think about Kubernetes on GCE as a hosted solution. And part of that is thinking about the onboarding paths into those hosted solutions more. And that's part of the context for this as well.
I wouldn't mind being part of a conversation about the overall sort of rework of that setup page too, because I do help wrangle a lot of the Kubernetes docs, which live there appropriately, I think, but in a different relationship than these categories. And I don't know that information architecture is the solution to that problem, but I think it would be useful to consider all of the content that we currently have under setup together as a way of both framing these revised categories optimally and making sure that the other content on that page is appropriately placed. Some of it might not even necessarily continue to live there. There's really a reference topic about certificates, which I put there for 111 or 112, I forget which, because it's really closely related to Kubernetes and we couldn't figure out where else to put it. But it might be that there's a better solution if we look at all of the content together. So, and there will be another search, there's another search topic coming in for 113 also. So considering all this stuff together, I think it's timely.
Yeah, and Dennis, you happen to work at a big company with some Kubernetes stuff.
Yes, apparently.
What do you think of this layout and setup?
I like it. Actually, I was gonna add that we don't have any managed options under the setup, and it looks good. It looks better.
Okay.
Does anybody know what Chris Negus and his group are doing with they're working on this, right, as their own project? Tom, I thought you mentioned this other SIG that was working on the setup section.
So I think we need Andrew for that context. He's been chatting with Jago McLeod about this particular topic. And the setup, there have been a lot of different conversations about the setup page from the work that Cody was doing in his Noogler onboarding up until now with the Kubernetes on GCE content and the paths into that content. So Andrew has better context than I do. So I can't comment beyond that.
Yeah, but your sense is that these two teams are working together. They're not off on their own duplicating work, right?
I believe that I believe that's the case, and I think that the provider SIG is led by Jago or somebody on Jago's team, and that their main interest is the Kubernetes on GCE being an exemplar for other hosted solutions in terms of the depth and quality of content. And so part of that is how do you find that content and fixing that, and then part of it is the actual hosted solution.
Mm-hmm.
The SIG cloud provider right now is basically there's 7 companies, and they are just going to provide like the baseline documentation. And what we're working on is as Google, we're just going to provide one piece of that. But each company is going to be providing the same types of documentation as an example for everyone else who wants to be listed on that page.
Yeah, I think right now we list a whole bunch of setup, like additional technical setup information that should probably live on other companies' sites instead of ours. And I know, I see you nodding vehemently, Steve. I think this is something that we have wanted to push off our site for a while because it's just hard to maintain consistency and accuracy of content that doesn't belong to us. So we should, yeah, I think Andrew's spearheading that effort, but I think this categorization of content is really just the tip of the iceberg for that.
Okay.
So Cody, I know I sort of voluntold you in the notes, but if you could send an email to Andrew and just let him know our updates, since you have more context than I do, and then you can figure out the next steps moving forward.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Are we good to move on? Hearing no disagreements, let's. We've got only a few minutes left. So let's get started talking about KubeCon Seattle, and we can defer the redirects question to next week, or possibly even take that one to Slack. I will start a conversation there, maybe next week also. Jared, did you have thoughts about KubeCon?
No.
Okay.
I just got back from vacation, so I'm currently in like breezy vacation mode still. So I just know I'm going to Seattle in a couple weeks, and a couple things. I know we've talked about all meeting up and having a discussion, like a Sig Docs discussion, and I think Zach has already planned that and has that well in hand.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's gotten details about that. If you haven't, then I think Zach will send out a couple reminders, additional information.
Yeah, Zach and I have been talking about what Zach's calling a doc summit. So that's
great.
Definitely in the planning stages, and we'll go out to interested folks.
Sweet. I also think it'd be good to do a doc fix it at KubeCon. I didn't know if somebody had already been starting this effort or working on it, if it had been talked in previous meetings, or if yes, great. I'd love to hear what we're working on. If not, then I'd like to talk about some specific efforts that we might put forward or things we might want to do. So it could just be an effort to pay down a bunch of debts that we have in our doc issues, or if there's something more specific that we'd like to do, might be a good time to do that. So I'm seeking information, and if that information doesn't exist, I'd like to make some plans.
So timely inquiry, Jared. What Zach and Andrew and I have got to thus far, Zach's main focus at this point is the doc summit. He's not as interested in a doc sprint. I agree with you, and I've made this clear to Zach that we should go prepared to run, something in the way of a doc sprint. And that's as far as I got. I said that I was willing to wrangle whoever showed up wanting to do it. And I was prepared to wing it on the spot. We've done this before with not unsuccess anyway. But if you would like to help do more planning for such an effort, that would be amazing and awesome and wonderful. And I would be happy to help. I didn't feel like I had the bandwidth to take on, planning a doc sprint ahead of time, but I was willing to run the wrangling in improvisatory fashion. So fearing that, I'd have the energy to pull something together with other people in the room. But if you want to work on something together beforehand, that would be great. Does that help?
Yeah, that definitely helps. I think, yeah, I don't think it'd be difficult to get space. I do think, I know from
We have
the,
space and time. We don't need to worry about that.
yeah, I'm more worried about coordinating it against the rest of the events. And because we did during the contributor summit last time, and I know a lot of contributors, in Copenhagen, we had the doc sprint at the same time as the contributor summit, which frankly kind of sucked because it was a lot of people competing. People had to make a decision of like, are they going to stay at the contributor summit and get to know what's going on in all the other SIG groups and get to meet all the other contributors, or are they going to come and participate in the contributing to docs? So I think it might be nicer to do if we do a doc sprint, to do it maybe during like a slot in the actual conference instead. But I want to sort of coordinate that with, with you and Zach and Andrew, and seeing how that would work out. Because the contributors are mostly there to learn more about the other SIG groups and figure out their place in sort of like SIG group world. So competing, trying to pull those people out to do a doc sprint, kind of distracts from the contributor summit. But I do think that if we decide to do one, I'd love to help out. So and I don't mind winging it because there's definitely more than enough PRs to crank through. So yeah. Why don't we chat more about this next week, because I think there's still a lot of open questions.
Yeah, and Jared, I mean, there's like a day before the next meeting to do it in, but we can ping back and forth in the Sig Docs channel on Slack too. And if anybody else wants to weigh in, they can do that too.
And I think even if it's just like a group of us here want to get together and like work on docs, I think that would actually be really useful, because we rarely are in the same space at the same time.
Yeah.
It'd be nice just to meet up, work through a couple of PRs, maybe like. It might be a good thing to do before or after the doc planning summit. Maybe before, so we kind of get a feel of some of the problems with docs, and we can kind of discuss them and hash out what's important and what's not. But I don't know. I'm open to ideas. But yeah, I agree with you, Jennifer. I've done this a bunch, so I'm not worried about throwing something together the night before. It's just notifying people that it's happening and having the space and time and having it in the schedule.
And I'm not completely sure what's involved with sort of getting the word out effectively either. I've been kind of laying low on that one too, I admit. So let's brainstorm about this one in Slack, and then put it on the agenda for next time also.
Sounds good.
And depending on what your calendar says, we're either 2 minutes over or we've got 8 minutes left. I'm going to call it for being 2 minutes over. Because I don't think we want to take up another item this late in the game. Does anybody have anything else they want to mention briefly before we call the meeting?
If you happen to be in the US, have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Okay, and as Zach likes to say, that's a SIG meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot. See you next week.